Thank you. Welcome to the regular Town Council meeting of Tuesday, June 10th. We begin tonight with two public hearings. The first is regarding the 2025 Neighborhood Assistance Act submissions. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Peter Talbot.
Here.
Don Walsh. Here. David Belliver. Here. John Mylone. Fiona Pearson. Tricia Kramer. Greg Wolf. Here. Dina Allard. Here. And Jim James. Quorum is present.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, would you read the legal notice, please?
The Town Council of the Town of Cheshire will hold a public hearing at 7 p.m. on Tuesday, June 10th, 2025 in the Town Hall Council Chambers, 84 South Main Street, Cheshire, Connecticut, to consider the submissions to the 2025 Neighborhood Assistance Act program, dated at Cheshire, Connecticut, this 14th day of May, 2025.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Mr. Kimball, would you do the presentation on the hearing subject?
Sure. I'll be brief. This is an annual program. The town's role is purely ministerial and requires approval by the local legislative body for any submissions. We received 3 submissions, one from Community Health Center Association of Connecticut for a workforce training enhancement program, one from Ball and Socket Arts for roofing costs on Building 1, and one from the Hometown Foundation for the Police K-9 program. So those are the 3 that are being considered this evening. And again, following the hearing, this would be approved on to Department of Revenue Services, and then with their approval, these organizations would be eligible for the Neighborhood Assistance Act program.
Thank you, Mr. Kimball. If there is anyone in the audience tonight that would like to speak on the hearing subject of the 2025 Neighborhood Assistance Act submissions, you can do so now. Please make your way to the podium to your left, my right, and you may speak on the hearing subject. Seeing none, I'll close this public hearing. Our second public hearing tonight is on the appropriation of $80,000 for Lakeview Avenue culvert improvements and authorizing the issue of $80,000 in bonds and notes to finance the appropriation. Back to you, Mr. Kimball or Mr. Comment. Mr. Kimball.
Do you need the legal notice first, or?
I'm sorry?
Did you want the clerk to read the legal notice?
Sorry.
No.
Thank you, Mr. Kimball, and thank you, Madam Clerk.
The Town Council of the Town of Cheshire will hold a public hearing at 7 p.m. on Tuesday, June 10th, 2025 in the Town Hall Council Chambers, 84 South Main Street, Cheshire, Connecticut, to consider the following proposed resolution. A resolution appropriating $80,000 for Lakeview Avenue culvert improvements and authorizing the issue of $80,000 in bonds and notes to finance the appropriation, dated at Cheshire, Connecticut, this 14th day of May, 2025.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Mr. Kimball, now it's time to go back to you. Thanks for keeping me honest.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So tonight's hearing subject is on an additional appropriation of $80,000. Back last year, the Town Council approved the Lakeview Avenue culvert replacement project. It was designed and then bid, and where the bids came in at about $400,000 was higher, absent any additional incidentals or contingencies needed than we had available in the appropriation. So there's a request to increase the appropriation by $80,000. And under our charter, this being over $250,000, this requires a public hearing before the additional funds can be approved.
Thank you, Mr. Kimball. Again, I will allow members of the public to speak on the hearing topic. Seeing none, I will close this public hearing. Which brings us to our regular meeting of Tuesday, June 10th. We've called the roll, we've done the pledge. Brings us to number 3, public communications. And I have 3 proclamations that I'd like to read tonight. The first is a proclamation for Flag Day 2025. Whereas by act of Congress of the United States dated August 3rd, 1949, June 14th of each year is designated National Flag Day. And whereas our flag is our nation's symbol of unity, freedom, and equal rights for all, and whereas the flying of our flag is a sign of our patriotism and love for our country. Now, therefore, I, Peter J. Talbot, Mayor and Chair of the Town Council, on behalf of the Town Council and all the citizens of Cheshire, by this proclamation, honor our flag and urge all citizens to proudly fly this symbol of our great nation every day and to pause and reflect on the blessings of liberty our flag represents. Dated at Cheshire, Connecticut, this 10th day of June, 2025. The second proclamation is for Pride Month. Whereas all people, regardless of age, gender identity, race, color, religion, marital status, national origin, sexual orientation, or physical challenges, have the right to be treated on the basis of their intrinsic value as human beings. And whereas Pride Month was established to acknowledge our obligation to uphold the dignity of all people and to dedicate ourselves to protecting the most vulnerable among us for a more just and equitable America. Now, therefore, I, Peter J. Talbot, Mayor and Chairman of the Town Council, on behalf of the Town Council and all the citizens of Cheshire, by this proclamation, recognize June as Pride Month in Cheshire, dated at Cheshire, Connecticut, this 10th day of June, 2025. And finally, a proclamation for Juneteenth, June 19th, 2025. Whereas on June 19th, 1865, more than 2 years after President Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation, enslaved Americans in Galveston, Texas, finally received word that they were free from bondage. As those who were formerly enslaved were recognized for the first time as citizens, Black Americans came to commemorate Juneteenth with celebrations across the country. And whereas Juneteenth was declared a federal holiday in 2021 and a Connecticut state holiday in 2022. Now, therefore, I, Peter J. Talbot, Mayor and Chair of the Town Council, on behalf of the Town Council and all the citizens of Cheshire, by this proclamation, recognize Juneteenth holiday as a celebration of freedom. Dated at Cheshire, Connecticut, this 10th day of June, 2025. Which brings us to item 3D, which is our annual update from Cheshire's RWA RPB representative. I see a very familiar face in the room tonight. Welcome, Mr. Slocum, and we're anxious to hear what you have to report.
Thank you, sir. We're neighbors. So anyway, my jacket's off, I'm ready to talk, and I see I've never had a larger audience. Is that operational?
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for having me. I always enjoy coming to the council and not having to stay for the whole meeting. No, I loved my service on the council. So anyway, I thank Noel Shepard for uploading my report so you all have it handy and I didn't have to make a couple of copies, which I would have gladly done, but it's a nice new system you're operating under. So this is my report tonight. Essentially, I was appointed by the RPB by the Town Council in 2016, and I'm a member of the Finance Committee and serve on the Executive Committee, currently as its treasurer. I'm one of 21 RPB members. There are also a 5-member authority, which includes its chairman, Mr. Dave Bowery, who also served on this council at one time and he's probably been on the Regional Water Authority for 20-some-odd years. We all represent a municipality and that is either served with drinking water or owns property, such as Prospect. They own tons of land, which is land that is important to the watershed. So anyway, some of our responsibilities include, we approve rate adjustments requested by the RWA and paid by all of its customers, and that's done through the budgeting process. We authorize projects exceeding $2 million, and most of the projects are well over $2 million. We adopt policies pertaining to land use related to the more than 27,000 acres that are under our protection as watershed property. And finally, we have a consumer affairs officer who represents the RPB and concerns our customers may have. That appointee is Mr. Jeff D'Onofrio, who I know you're very familiar with. One of my purposes is to serve as a link to the town when there's issues and concerns. But the water companies actually enhance some of those efforts and has assigned someone directly to each municipality. So, you know, I might get memoed on a water outage that's affecting, 60 customers in Cheshire, but the town already knows about it. There's a good liaison that works out. They sort out issues also with road work that has to be done in town so that there's a more fulsome understanding and coordination of not wasting assets and coordinating things properly. So what does water cost? I tell you this every year, but it's amazing to me. It costs about a penny a gallon. And we live in a very rich part of water country, and we're fortunate. But the unbelievable thing is that penny a gallon is still maintained at a declining use of about 1% every year in water consumption. So since our founding in 1980, that's when we were legislatively created, water consumption has declined 55%. And a lot of that, well, a lot of it is just the demographics in the state. It's always been a state of about 3 million people, industry changes, but also conservation efforts made with toilets and sinks and everything else. And, so all of that has contributed, but adds to the complexities of managing the institution, public utility, as you would call it. So anyway, the town's water comes primarily from an aquifer in the North Cheshire well field. That's up by the new development area, the well field it is. The actual operating facility is on East Johnson Avenue. And we also get water from the the well field in Hamden, which is near that plaza setting that's, there's quite an active plaza there now that hadn't been there. I know there's a dollar store in that area. And also, water gets pumped up from Lake Whitney. Lake Whitney, which is soon to have its dam rebuilt, which is an enormous project for the water company. That's currently in the design phase. So updated, the other thing that is somewhat significant that may have had impacts on consumers in Cheshire, certainly. Had one on me as a customer who pays, monthly through electronic transfer. The water company updated its system, CIS systems that impacted how those transactions took place. And it's all to enhance communication, but ultimately it created a ripple with transfer of one system to the other. And the processes ended up working out quite well. I would encourage anyone who hasn't really done so, they might want to just set up automatic pay just because it's simple. I know I was quite annoyed when the water company introduced monthly billing. Just as a consumer, you got to write a check 12 times a year instead of 4. And so, but it gives them better cash flow, which is important to the organization. So when this transition took place, it had that unhinged month of transition. It's all pretty good now, but I wanted you to be aware that we were aware that locally there may have been concerned and irritated customers. But thankfully, things have moved along quite smoothly. It's going quite well. In another aspect of everything we're trying to do to save costs. You probably all received this little postcard if you're a water company user. Normally, we get a mailing of, the water quality report. This year, they sent a postcard. You could use the QR code on it. It directly links to the report. But if you lost that postcard, throw this away as junk mail, you can always go to the website, which is ourwater.com, and look for the report. And once again, the 2024 water quality report, maintains the fact that we're creating pure and safe drinking water with, as they say, testing 66,000 times a year our water. So that's what's going on. Now, what's going on locally? Obviously, there's a lot of residential growth and commercial development over the past 2 years. Obviously, you all know about Stonebridge Crossing and the related apartment projects. These water services are fully operational or certainly come online as they come online. And this has been very important to the Regional Water Authority, and I think we clearly understand that coordination with the water company and the private developers and the town, I think went very smoothly, which speaks to all three organizations, really, the private, the public, and utility. One interesting thing I thought you might be I never heard this until the other day. I was in an orientation setting for 2 new members, and they listed our top 10 customers, and Yale is on top. They're the biggest customer, and I've always known that somehow. But interestingly, number 3 was the Department of Corrections in Cheshire, and we know they shower a lot. We certainly know they used our wastewater system frequently, and called for great expansion. So that explains some of that. But number 8 is also Basuto Warehouse, big users. So we were the only community with the biggest, with 2 users, that were in the top 10, which I thought was interesting. Other services for Cheshire customers, you can utilize the household Hasway Central at Regional Water Company headquarters. Cheshire's obviously a member. At one time, I think that lapsed, but they're available by appointment 9 a.m. to noon on Saturdays, and the most timely upcoming ones are the Saturdays in June of the 14th, the 21st, and the 28th. For all what qualifies, you need to look that up. I can't state for sure what they all are. Other available services which benefit customers and the authority alike would be pipe safe and sewer line service protection plans. They're generators of revenue which help our organization, but they're also protection services that benefit customers. I know I can always reflect on that long ago time frame in my life when my water line failed, and there was nothing but a replaced line. It was 500 feet long and expensive, and the programs do go towards helping some of those problems. They don't take all of them away. So I would encourage members of the community that are served by the water company just to go ahead and avail themselves of those service plans, which do cost money, but they're nominal. It's not a tremendous amount of money. Finally, the last thing I wanted to bring up was the Aquarian Water Authority transaction. And when I was here last in August, I didn't talk much about that because there wasn't really a lot to say other than the fact that our former chairman, sadly, Larry Bingaman, passed away in December of this past year, but he had asked the governing body of the authority to, go to the legislature and consider creating a water authority for Aquarian water. And the enabling legislation was developed on the model of the Regional Water Authority. Regional Water Authority was a private, for-profit stock holding company that couldn't exist in its current world because the investors were going to sell it because they couldn't take on the Clean Water Act. which goes back to the 70s, the Nixon administration. And that was so costly, the investors just knew they couldn't do it, or thought they couldn't do it, or didn't want to do it. So this model was created to sort of rescue all of the land that would have had to been sold to finance that, possibly, and to develop an authority which is sort of a creature of the state, but it also operates as its own management system, creating budgets and rates. So it gets us out of the business of going to Pura and being denied, which brings us to, we have to make a good case, don't misunderstand me. But it brings me to the, after the success of that legislation, Eversource had attempted, well, Aquarian, an Eversource company, or investment property, whatever it might have been. They were independent of sorts. They requested a rate increase, which was denied. I think they were looking for 13%, and they weren't given that, and I think there was even some subtractions from what they had. And so Eversource decided, we just can't have this. This makes no sense for us. We're going to sell this company. So this model created enabled the acquisition to go forward as an authority. And that's being done currently with the Regional Water Authority sort of leading that whole thing. So to be created will be an independent authority. 59 RPB members, APB members, whatever they call them, representing their individual towns, and them determining rates. And they also would be paid by pilots, just as Cheshire pays a pilot for the pipes and pays for the service, or gets a pilot, and we pay for the service as a town as well. So that's updated in a more fulsome manner in my report, and I don't have to go through all of it. But the reason it's somewhat interesting and important now is that we're really working side by side to make this happen as an organization. And the public hearing process is commencing. I believe the first public hearing is on the 25th. And I know I personally reached out at the request of our current chairman to request if the town had anything good to say about the ease of operations over the last 30 years with the Regional Water Authority. It would be welcomed. They're under no obligation, but I think it's pretty apparent that most of us know that there's no hassle with it. There are concerns with some of those towns who were getting tax money, and explaining a pilot and taxes and satisfying all those different things, can be complicated. So that's at the heart of the issue, I suppose. So assuming that this ultimately passes, it would take place by the end of this year, and they would be well on their way working side by side with our body, if you will, so that they can begin to function as a not-for-profit creature of the state public utility. So that more or less concludes my report. There's a little bit more stuff to it if you care to read it, but I need not take more of your time. I will state for the record that I've appreciated my years of service. I look forward, should the opportunity present itself, to serve in this capacity again. And I truly appreciate your time and welcome any questions you might have, though I know you have a full house tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Slocum.
Thank you so much.
Always appreciate your updates.
Thank you.
Questions from colleagues? Mr. Walsh.
Thanks, Tim. I just had one question. I had asked it before. With the hazardous waste drop-off, I know they do regional sometimes where they leave New Haven and go to different towns. Is there a way that you can check into that to see if we can get one at least once or twice this year?
I know they They do have some of those scheduled, like Meriden has one that they set up. They seem to have been established for the year, but that's all available information on the website, because I was actually looking at some of those dates today. And
How do they set those up, though? I mean, maybe in the future, if we
they're
can,
set dates.
so
There are
maybe if in
set
the future
dates
we
for
can
them.
get Cheshire in on one of those dates?
I would think that's reasonable,
Okay.
yeah.
Can we go through you?
I could certainly ask that on your behalf, no problem at all.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
I know anything we can do to get rid of our waste safely, because it's a hazard. Thank you.
Anyone else? Tim, just a couple. I know you guys were doing testing for lead-free pipes.
Lead and copper, right.
Is that
The lead and- what-
continuing, or did that?
Basically, what they've determined, they have done a fairly full study. They've started and initiated a sort of a trial program in Milford. That's what I was told. It's all I know, really, but this is one where it involves the homeowner
Right.
and the utility and regulators. So they decided to test it there, see how it goes and whatever. But I think I mentioned the last time, there was a handful of locations in Cheshire where they had tested, and I guess their testing revealed there were some issues, but that's not an action item right now. They're focusing on Milford.
The final question I have is, you talked about the watersheds that serve the town of Cheshire. And I was curious as to the kind of the health of the watersheds, not with the quality of the water, but what's the level of water in those watersheds?
Well, the
We've been
watersheds,
under,
their
we've been under such a drought situation in the state, and, taking away the last month and a half where it seems like all it's done is rain, but.
Well, this is true, and it has done a lot of rain, and I believe at our last meeting, which was, the last regular meeting was last month in the latter part of the month, the reservoirs were at 90% capacity. Now, the watersheds are different. Watersheds protect water bodies. They're also areas of infiltration. So primarily the interest there is not necessarily keeping people out and hazards out, because some of these properties are available with permits to go on. But they're really recharge areas, whether it's streams that feed into reservoirs or water bodies. But there's a ton of acreage there. In the North Cheshire well field, that is an aquifer that's recharged. There's no surficial water there. That can take a while to respond to times of drought. And what's sucked out of it, too, can make a difference. That's why there's always the concept of sort of recirculating water distribution. That's why you have a backup that comes from Lake Whitney. The largest water supply that the Water Authority has is Lake Gillard, which is the town of Killingworth. No, it might be North Branford. It's one of those towns. You don't even see it. And it supplies close to 50% of the water to our customers. And, there's a dam, it goes by a giant pipe under Route 22 to the treatment plant, and it's distributed all over the region. There's other reservoirs that serve as well, large, Lake Salt and Stall, just a number of big water bodies. There's only a few towns that have wells like we do, just a few. Only 12% of the water supply is delivered by wells.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Leads us to item 3E, public comments. Anyone that would like to address the council may queue up on the side. Please state your name, address, and limit your comments to 3 minutes, please.
Hi, Jean Melendez, 1425 Waterbury Road, Cheshire, Connecticut. Good evening. Re the pound, many people were blaming the Department of Agriculture for not citing the animal control officer Leeler's behavior in their decree. tying the hands of Cheshire. Others, including some members of the council, have commented to some, if there really was criminal behavior, why didn't the Department of Agriculture include it in their decree? Tonight I'm going to tell you why. Because the town of Cheshire demanded it be removed from the draft consent decree. Thanks to records obtained through the Freedom of Information Act, we have direct written evidence from the town's attorney confirming that criminal charges were included and then stripped out because the town council refused to accept that responsibility. Let me walk you through the facts in the town's own words. In an email dated December 19th, 2024, Town Attorney D'Onofrio wrote the words, "after preliminary draft," denoting some redactions above his statement. The proposed consent order makes specific reference to violation of CGS 53-247, which includes felony animal cruelty. The town cannot agree that it violated CGS 53-247. Clearly, DOAG did cite felony-level cruelty. It was the town that refused to accept it. The next day, the town attorney demanded the opening line of the decree be reworded from "the respondent has violated" to "the department alleges the respondent has violated." This change erased any formal admission of wrongdoing. Then, the town attorney asserted a clause stating, "without contesting the sufficiency of the allegations," which is legal language for, we won't fight the rest of the facts, but we won't admit to them either. 3 edits, 3 documented efforts to erase the truth, not because they weren't true, but because DOAG found the ACO guilty and made the town culpable as well. While the town council was sanitizing the decree behind closed doors, in public, Ms. Allard was calling us biased. Mr. Talbot was calling me a liar. But we know now who is truly biased and also who has been lying to the public all along. We learned through this that if the town council gets a criminal report or complaint from anyone, including state agencies, they can and will deny it, hide it, cover it up, and fight anyone who dare try to bring the truth forward. When the council said they were putting the town above everything else, what they really meant was the town's image was more important than serving the town's people. The council has been telling the public to trust the process of their investigation. Their hand-picked attorney hired with town funds, who they control, and who might even be exempt from disclosing records under FOIA. This attorney will answer only to the council, not to the public.
Time, Ms. Melendez.
Janice Copes, 25 Salem Road, Prospect, Connecticut, and I'm going to just finish off what Jean has written. If this council was willing to pressure the Department of Agriculture to rewrite a consent order to remove accountability and criminal charges, well, what will it ask of someone beholden to them alone? They erased the charges from the decree, buried the truth, blamed the messenger, and hoped no one would notice. We noticed. Stop defending the indefensible. The public is watching you. The truth will come out one way or another. It always does. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Coast.
David Iomi, 65 Stony Hill Road, Cheshire, Connecticut. I'm here to speak on another FOIA request. This one that I made for correspondence between the town council and the Cheshire Health District between 2023 and 2024. And I want to speak to the fact that a lot of what has come out of the emails is that there is a lot of correspondence via personal emails rather than the town's email account between Chespricott and the town council and the other way around as well. And this is a problem when it comes to anyone who makes a FOIA request of the town, because your IT department can sort through anything that's on the account, the email account for the town, but you have no access to private email services. So there's no guarantee that when a FOIA request comes in, that all the information from the town is going to be provided. In my particular case, I had about 1,200 plus emails from Chesprocott. I had less than half responding from the town of Cheshire. I went back and made a second request, and basically telling the town that anything on private email services is still subject to a FOIA response. I've got just a couple examples here I'd like to read regarding the use of private emails, which I think, is a problem with FOIA requests right now. So this is an email that was generated January 2nd, 2024, where Laura Marr was sharing the fact that Chesprocott has just been recognized by the United Healthcare as a medical provider, and sending a copy of the correspondence to Jim Jinks and Peter Talbert, and asking if you both wanted to be included in all board communications like this one. And Jim Jinks said in the response that just use my Gmail is fine rather than the town account. Mr. Talbot responded that to send the correspondence to both his town account and his personal account. So this, to me, is a problem. Another example, this email is dated June 11th, 2024, and it's correspondence where Darlene Makos, who is the Human Resources Manager at Chesprocott, was setting up a meeting between Jim Jinks and the Chesprocott staff, and he was using his personal email address. I did not get any correspondence relative to this meeting. All right, I just want to say that things need to change, and the town shouldn't be using private email addresses at all when they have a town-assigned email address, because it's not going to be FOIA recognized. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
My name is Jim Block, 60 Contour Drive, Cheshire. Thanks and good evening. For 9 months, Mr. Talbot, this has been going on with animal control. It is truly unbelievable. You've refused to speak about everything related to this. You hide behind the town attorney. You have the town attorney do the speaking for you. Prior to this, I thought you had the affability, the intelligence. You seem sharp. You deal well with other people on both sides of the aisle. This thing came up, and I lost all faith. It's an embarrassment. I'm a Democrat. I voted for you guys. There's a couple people sitting up here tonight, not Jim Jinks, who are embarrassing, and you're one of them. This goes on and on. You don't speak to it. You get upset when people are rude sometimes, and yes, I'm not happy about it. I understand when people are rude, and I don't like it. I see it on Facebook, but you make that the issue. The issue is you have an ACO that was deemed incompetent or worse by the state. When that DOAG investigation came out, that would have been the time. I would have not done your job half as well, or 10% as well as most of the things you do. But I would have asked the town manager and the police chief to come up here and explain how this lady is working here, how they didn't notice what went on, how this continued. Instead, you say nothing. Multiple levels of failure, and you think it's okay to say nothing. I don't understand it. I don't see how you can sit there and have that little regard for the residents. It goes on month after month after month. No wonder people get frustrated. This lady cited the brave people with Meriden Animal Hospital who reported this. They went on record as reporting it. Central Animal Hospital reported it. They felt the ACO was worth reporting. This doesn't happen too often. Consent order was signed by the town for multiple infractions, and you do nothing. It is unconscionable. You see this go on and on. It's going to go on for months, 2 months, 3 months, an investigation for 4 months for what? You had so many different red flags, so many glaring issues. I would not come here and speak like this. I lose sleep over it. I would not come here if I felt that this was one issue, one ACO left the door open, something happened. I'm all for forgiveness. But this was horrible. What are you afraid of? Why is everybody afraid of the ACO or the police chief or whatever the heck they're afraid of? It's time to step up. I wouldn't do the job that you have. I wouldn't run for it because I couldn't fire somebody. Probably couldn't unless I caught them absolutely beating a dog. But you have to step up and do your job that you're elected to, that I voted for. And it's just unconscionable to me. There's so much out there for this, and yet the lady is working. She's training another ACO. Lieutenant Miller is there. He's training. These people, where were they when these dogs were suffering? It's a major thing. It's a crisis. Deal with it, please. Thank you. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Block.
Tony Bagliore, 1191 Meriden Avenue, Southington, Connecticut, Best Friends for Life Animal Rescue, here again. So I was asked to read this paper, which I will, and then I have some other questions and things I'd like to ask everyone here. So I might need a little more than 3 minutes. Why on earth, this is what I was asked to read. Why on earth would a town council that claims to be looking for truth ask an investigative body to remove that truth? Even if they didn't believe the Department of Agriculture at that time, it was the official state report. Why alter it so subsequently? Why not accept the findings? And then if you truly believe they were flawed, conduct an open follow-up investigation of your own. But that's not what you did. You didn't investigate, you sanitized, you negotiated a version of events that stripped out the core findings, changed the conclusions, and removed all accountability. And now with no one held responsible, you think it's more plausible to the public that the 32 dogs in the town's custody, some the size of hamsters, were responsible for their own abuse. No matter how much evidence is presented, no matter who brings it forward, the state or the public, the council here claims the abuse didn't happen. You want to talk about fiction. The Department of Agriculture, Lieutenant Miller, Chief Drive, and the town council that removed the findings, all of you have culpability. When are you going to address the real problem? You accuse us of rushing to judgment, but what you're really done is delay long enough to dilute the truth beyond recognition. You spun it, softened it, buried it until you no longer recognize it, even when it's staring you in the face. How many excuses will you make? How many stories will you invent to protect your own? And the real question everyone who lives in Cheshire wants to know, what happens if a state municipal agency finds criminal liability involving a police officer or even a teacher? Would you rewrite that report too? So the town and the employee is protected. Would you shield anyone employed by the town of Cheshire that's not protecting the town, that's destroying it? That's what I have on this sheet. But what I have on my own is I'd like to ask something different of everyone in this room. I'd like to see a show of hands here. How many people are really frustrated with talking to a wall and would like a question and answer type form? So who in this room would like to see this format changed? I feel we're going around in circles and it's wasting everyone's time, both sides of the room, on both sides. Who would like to see this format just change a little bit to a question and answer so that we're not up here talking to a wall and you can respond to some of these questions with dignity and respect? I mean, an atrocity took place. 3 animals died. You have volunteers here taking their own time, and every month it's going on and on and on. And I don't want to come up here and say the same thing. An atrocity happened.
Thank you, Mr. Baglieri. Time.
Okay, so anybody show of hands, question and answer format on both sides of the table? And anyone? Okay, a room full of people want to see that. You guys don't. There's something wrong here. You need to make a little bit of a change. I mean, I don't want to stand up here and yell at all of y'all because I don't know that all of y'all are guilty about this. I don't know. And at the same time, these people deserve some kind of an answer, some kind of dignity and respect. I think you all need to stop being so casual about the fact that 3 animals died in the town's custody. That it's a major thing. Whether it's the police liaison and the senior animal control officer, I
Time,
believe those
Mr.
are the two
Baglieri.
responsible.
Thank you, sir.
And any answers? I mean, I feel like I'm talking to a wall. We're spinning our wheels, and next month we're going to spin our wheels again, I guess.
I have to keep coming. Can I get a stool? Good evening, Holly Fontaine, 35 Elizabeth Lane, Vernon, Connecticut. The only means by which evil can triumph is if good people choose to do nothing, and if those who sit in positions of authority who should uphold righteous principles remain inactive or detached, evil and wrongdoings will persist. When the wicked band together, the righteous must also join forces to take action, and that's exactly what this group of advocates have done for the past 7 months. We will not succumb to inaction in the face of injustice and wrongdoings. We will not become passive, thereby allowing these wrongdoings to prevail. We will not be silent because you remain silent. This has been our rallying cry as a unified group dedicated to the continuing this fight for the voiceless. Our collective voice is a powerful force joined for change, advocating for these innocent souls who deserved protection and proper care. We will not be silenced by indifference. Instead, we will amplify the voice of those who cannot speak for themselves. These dogs had a right to be free from cruelty, especially at the hands of one entrusted to uphold the law. Together, we will continue to push for the truth, accountability, and a pound where all are treated with compassion. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fontaine.
Hi, good evening, Council. My name is Lori Barnes. I'm at 532 East Johnson Avenue. I don't have any information to add other than I really agree with James' sentiment quite a bit. I'm really kind of perplexed at some of the information that I'm hearing tonight, because then that tells me that this goes a lot deeper, which I thought was happening, that how could this be really happening? But the one thing I keep thinking about is the first meeting I came to, and let me be clear, I'm a conservative, but I could work with anybody. It doesn't matter who you are, what you are, doesn't matter. But when I came here with an open mind, and I first spoke and I said, there's forgiveness in accountability. But I clearly remember you, Mr. Talbot, bringing up a sign that was in the first meeting that was on somebody's front lawn, which was completely inappropriate. The sign was horrible. It's a horrible sign. It was a horrible sign. But I keep thinking about what you said, and you said, do better, Cheshire. You just kept saying, do better, Cheshire. And this was about a sign, like a sign on someone's front lawn, right? Like a sign, a guy's opinion, what he thought on his front lawn. And here we are in June, and we know that this happened, right? We know what happened. We're not stupid. We all know what happened. We feel like we could feel like whatever we want, it doesn't matter. But what are we gonna do here? We're just gonna keep doing this little dance, this whole thing back and forth? Like, when are we going to take accountability? And like I said, there's no ahas, and you're more caught up in the details of how things are said and who says them, and your feelings get hurt. I mean, most of you up here, I could see by you drank water out of a hose like I did. You don't have to get in your feelings about it. Remember, we had commercials that said, have you hugged your children? Because they were looking for us at night, because they forgot they had kids. Like, you come from an era of, buckle up, saddle up, and take care of it and fix it. But we're not doing that. We're sweeping it under the carpet, we're hiding it, and we're not taking care of this, and it's not fair. It's really not fair. So that's what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Barnes.
Hello, Marina Bagliori, 1191 Meriden Avenue, Southington. I have a lot of question and concern, but I'm speechless after Jean uncovered this, so I have a couple of things when I ask. Mr. Talbot, last meeting, and I received an email from you back, and you tell us what all of us here misunderstood lawyer saying what investigation will be done in 3 weeks. We're in 4 weeks, and we tell us now what we have a problem, investigation not done, and it's look like another story what will never get any answers. So do you think so all of us have hearing problem, or you just think what we are low quality people who can't understand lawyer? What I read today 3 times I watch a video and he repeat. He doing meeting with the witnesses and investigation should be done in 3 weeks. So we're in week 4 and we still don't have answer, and I don't believe we'll have any answer. This is my first question personally to you since I received email from you. My second question, I have email here from Department of Agriculture, Kelly Barker, from day stating 8/16/24. And here we say we have a meeting with Chief of Police, and I'm assuming all of you, Chief of Police, Lieutenant Miller, and in time ACO was on vacation. And I want you to write a notice for this. So we're saying, Chief of Police saying what he expressed concern, what your ACO April cannot do cleaning the kennel without supervision. So Lieutenant Miller have to supervise your ACO who've been working for 27 years. Is there anybody can give me explanation? And Lieutenant Miller went to any classes to get, how did he know how to clean the kennels? Did he went to the classes? Did he get certification? Because supposedly town of Cheshire can clean a kennel without going to the school and get some kind of certification. So how much we paying Lieutenant Miller to be supervised ACO of 27 years to clean a kennel while a dog's suffering? So do we have any answer for this? Because we need to get a record from this. I want to know how much Lieutenant Miller spent overtime. And he already suspect what ACO Leo cannot clean a kennel and not taking any actions. And the next moment, on August 19, Tanya from Department of Agriculture coming and saw what Supervisor Miller standing and watching Layla cleaning the kennels. So what are we doing here? How it's possible with 27 years veteran, ACO knows everything, cannot clean a kennel on her own? Is it something wrong with these pictures? Can you hearing me, all of you, and know how she can be continuous to be ACO in town of Cheshire?
Time, Ms. Baglieri.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Lori Russo, 39 Plum Hollow Way in Berlin. Here we are again. A couple of years ago, I had a very intelligent attorney friend of mine who passed away recently. He was a wonderful human being and an animal advocate. He taught me a lot and was a great mentor to me. He always said when an accused person remains silent, it usually is a sign of guilt. Guilt and apparent corruption is what I feel I'm looking at in all your smug faces every month. It's horrible how you can go home and face your families knowing the injustice and outright cruelty you've all helped and allowed to be inflicted on these innocent dogs at the direct hands of April Leeler. What could she possibly have on each of you? I wonder for you to put your own reputations on the line for her. April Leeler and each person involved in this neglect and abuse of those beautiful Cheshire dogs should be arrested, in my opinion, and banned from contact with any animals. You all think we're stupid, that we actually believe the lies and cover-ups, but we don't. What happened to the written arrest warrant that was presented for signature against April Leeler for her neglect and abuse of animals left in her care at the pound? Who involved in this corruption made that disappear? I believe karma will prevail in the end to all involved. Your so-called private, unbiased investigator is only a stall tactic. There is no way anyone with half a brain could find innocence in any of this. I can't wait until the Cheshire taxpayers realize where the money has been going, and you're all removed. You all gave April Leeler a raise and thanked her for her animal neglect and abuse all these years. A raise using taxpayers' money and raising their taxes to cover all her phony and corrupt pay hours. No way can any of those numbers be justified or explained. The bottom line is that an independent investigator would have to do is look at all the photos, sworn statements by actual witnesses, including the Department of Agriculture, licensed veterinarians, and groomers. Photos don't lie, but obviously your animal control officer does, along with this town council and your attorney. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Russo.
Linda Pleva, 23 Norton Place, Plainville, Connecticut. I didn't come here tonight prepared to speak at all. But I have to tell you, what I'm hearing here tonight from the warrant being denied, oh my God. From the very beginning of this thing, I wondered, like, why are they protecting her? I don't understand it. I don't understand it. Are you human? Are you human? Is there anything behind those faces that stare at us blankly every single month? April Leeler has stolen from this town. It's proven in her overtime records, her time cards, lots of money. When I heard that, one word, it's like blaring out of my head, blaring, embezzlement. And now I'll go back to that question, why are you protecting her? Do you have something to hide? Done with my questions. My next little bit is to these people out here. Every single one of those intelligent, good-hearted, compassionate people who are speaking for the voiceless, God knows you're not. Thank you. Thank you, every single one of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kleebach. Anyone else? Thank you for your attendance. With regard to the warrant that has been talked about, it is my understanding that DOAG applied for a warrant for arrest. It was sent to the state's attorney's office. It was no more than an application for a warrant. A warrant was never issued by the state's attorney's office. And with that, we'll move on. The next item is the approval of minutes, item number 4. Yes.
Obviously, one of the questions that come up was the investigation. Could you give us, or maybe Jeff, where we are with that? Because I know that there had been some discussion of where it was, and now, of course, it's beyond that point. So let's see, where it was. I know, Mr. Chairman, you had sent an email out to a resident who had, or a president had asked about that. I know you had sent an email out, but while everyone's here, I just wondered if we could sort of just announce where we are with that investigation.
It is my understanding, and I'll defer to the town attorney, but it is my understanding that the last interview as part of the investigation is to be conducted tomorrow. It will then take the investigator some time to write up his report.
Could you, also, one thing's, other question, if I have a second, and Jeff, maybe you know the answer to this question. What exactly is, what when we put in this investigation, what is the scope of that investigation? What, ultimately, I know we have said there's an investigation, but what is in the end, what's the scope? What's the end goal? Where's the result gonna be? Is it,
The whole idea behind the investigation being done by a third party was to have an independent investigation done. So we gave the investigator a very broad scope that was not only limited to personnel, but operations at the facility and the facility itself. The investigator, as I reported last month, the investigator had told me last month that he had a few interviews left to conduct and expected to be done within 3 weeks. Well, as you just heard, there's one additional interview. A lot of times during the course of an investigation, when the investigator interviews a witness, it leads to additional interviews. Sometimes when you contact a potential interviewee, they engage counsel, or they refuse to be interviewed, or they delay in getting back to you. So it's difficult to be able to say it's going to be done by this date when I'm not the one doing the investigation and I'm not privy to who the interviewees are for the most part, okay? Because it's completely independent. We've not directed the investigator, to do anything or not do anything. We've given him complete discretion to conduct the investigation the way that he deems fit. And the scope is very broad. It has to do with both the operations and the personnel involved in the animal control facility, as well as all of the allegations in the consent order. That's what they were. They were allegations.
absolutely.
There was no due process, there was no trial, there was nothing. Okay?
During an investigation, shouldn't the accused be suspended to protect the public?
Moving on to item number 4, the approval of minutes. The minutes of May 13th, 2025 Town Council regular meeting. In the minutes of the May 27th, 2025 Town Council special meeting. I'll accept a motion. Thank you, Mr. Walsh. In a second, Mr. Veliber, thank you. All those in favor? Motion passes unanimously of those present. Moving on to the consent calendar, item number 5. Mr. Jinks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Be it resolved that the Town Council approves resolution number 061025-1, the consent calendar for June 10, 2025. Be it resolved that the Town Council approves the consent calendar for June 10, 2025 as follows.
Thank you, Mr. Jinks. Thank you, Mr. Veliber. The consent calendar for tonight, all those in favor? Motion passes unanimously by those present. Which brings us to items removed from consent. There is nothing. Brings us to old business, number 7. Item A is the School Building Committee update. Mr. Gussenberg. Welcome back.
Thank you.
And by the way, I know you had a hand in putting together the ceremony that was held at the new Barnum, Barney C. Barnum Elementary School. So thanks to you, thanks to Jeff Solon, thanks to Sean and staff with the town. It was an absolutely tremendous event, well attended, and just a very special morning for all of us that were able to be there.
It was great to see the number of veterans that came, some of whom had served decades ago, but were very proud, and I thought Colonel Barnum handled himself beautifully. It was a great speech that he gave, something very inspiring for our children. So I'm hoping that one day in the new school there will be a nice big plaque up there with some of what he's done as an individual that will inspire our children. So, yeah, it was a good morning.
Yes, it was.
I'll fill you in a little bit. As you know, we had some very good news from the state of Connecticut recently. Our state legislators went to work for us. We had two issues that impacted our reimbursement. One of them dealt with space standards, and we were over the space standards that the state sets because of the fact that we had extensive special ed programming at both of the schools. The second one was a new regulation or new law that had been passed by the state that allowed extra reimbursement for pre-K construction, but we had already gotten our approval and were moving on, and therefore we weren't going to be eligible. Anyway, the state legislators went to work and got both of them passed, and it's going to have a substantial impact on reimbursement to the town, lowering our bonding costs down the line. So we're quite pleased with that. The FF&E Working Committee is continuing. They've been getting together about every 2 weeks, composed of teachers, administrators, our architects, myself, one other member of the Next Generation School Building Committee, and they're going space by space, looking at what furniture and equipment should be in every classroom, music room, gymnasium, library, whatever. So it's a long, detailed process. I sat in for 2 hours the other day. A good hour of it was just spent on music equipment, music furniture, things like that. So it's worth the time and effort to get it right, and the staff has had a tremendous amount of input in the process. Norton School is on schedule. I was there today in the rain, went up on the roof and looked out over with 2 classrooms. This video, which Andrew just put up, I shot about a week ago, so it's not completely up to date, but you can see both floors are done in the classroom wing. The roof is now on, and I was up on that roof, as I said. And they'll be moving next into getting the gym, cafeteria, and library finished up. So the steel work continues. There is a plan for a topping off ceremony on Thursday, which unfortunately I won't be able to attend, but the steel work's not all done, but they really wanted to do something with the students before the students left. And so as we've been going through, classes of students have been coming onto site and working with ONG and seeing the planning process and the architectural process that goes on. ONG took a large steel girder, painted it white, and asked every student in the school to sign their name to it. And so on Thursday, they'll be lifting that girder up in place in the entranceway to the school, and then putting a little tree, I saw the little tree today, putting a little tree on top of it. So they wanted to do that, as I said. The steel work will actually be finished later on in the summer, but they really wanted to make sure that the students were part of it. These pictures that you're looking here were shot back in April, so we've made a lot of progress since that time. Geothermal wells are about 2/3 done right now at Norton. 30+ wells have been done. We have a couple of huge piles of soil, topsoil, more than what we need on the site, and need to get some of that off-site so that we can finish up some of the parking areas and things like that. That soil has been tested, and some of it contains contaminants, and therefore we are approved at our last meeting approximately $200,000 to move that site to a reprocessing facility up in West Hartford and get that material off-site. It's, largely, some of it is just naturally occurring metals. Some of it is pesticides and things that have been used over the decades. And it's, they've gone through and done numerous tests on the various piles so that we can identify what is the clean topsoil that we can use and what is the topsoil that needs to be removed. So that's in process. We're hoping within a day or two, we'll get the okay to start trucking that off-site. Over at the north end, Barnum Elementary School. Again, we're on schedule. I was there today walking the site in the mud. And steel continues to be erected. Classroom wings are completed. The pre-K, gym, cafeteria, and office areas will be next. The steel work at the north end, Barnum Elementary, is a little bit behind where the Norton is by design. It was set up that way right from the beginning because there's a large amount of site work that was done at that site first, which couldn't be done at Norton because of the building. All of the GO wells have been completed, and the big holding tanks are in, and so both sites are on schedule, even though if you look, Norton looks like it's a little bit farther ahead. And the gentleman from O&G at the north site today was saying he wanted to make sure that you were aware that they are on site, and in fact, he said a little bit ahead of schedule. That's about all I have at this point, but be more than glad to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you, Mr. Gussenberg. Mr. Veliver.
First, I want to also express my thanks to you and the committee and everyone for putting together the event for the Barnum School. It was truly a great event, and obviously to have him there to be able to sort of celebrate that with us was a special event as well. Really to get that off the ground. I think it was a great event, and I'm happy to have been able to go and see it. And it's fun to see it actually starting to come together. You know, that's the nice part about the whole thing. Quick question, a couple quick questions. First, just about the soil. If you have, I assume therefore, even though some of that soil has been dug up, and obviously you have to get it off site, but it's been contaminated. But that means, I assume it means, of course, that the soil that is still there is okay. That we don't have to, is there anything that has to be done with the soil that's, I mean?
We've stripped off all of the topsoil on the site.
Okay.
Obviously, if you knew the site before we started, there was a small playground area and then a large treed area that went all the way around. The tree area was cleared out. The entire amount of topsoil was stripped and piled up. And they call it Mount Norton. If you get over on site, you'll see it. It's a big, big mound. And then there's a smaller mound off to another side. That's all the topsoil that was there. And what they found was there was a lot more topsoil than they thought there was going to be. It was hard to judge it completely with, it was a heavily treed, forested area. So once they got that huge pile there and measured it, they said, we've got here almost double what we need to actually put on site.
But what was it? What was the source of, or why would, if it's been sitting there? I'm just curious. What was the contamination? Why would the?
I'm sorry.
I thought you said the soil has to be treated, right? In order for.
And I'm not an expert in this. We have a report that I could send to you if you want to take a look at it. But Eagle Environmental came in and we said, look, we've got double the amount of topsoil that we need. Half of it needs to go off-site. Department of Environmental Protection is working with our people and said, okay, if we're going to move any of this off-site, it has to be tested. So they went through and did $20,000 worth of testing, numerous, core samples. In the process, what they found is that a large part of it was clean, fine, but that some of it contained naturally occurring heavy metals or pesticides that had been used on that site over the years. And therefore, before it could be moved off-site, it had to have a place to go. We couldn't just, normally the subcontractor who's doing the site work would just take any extra topsoil he would put it in a big pile somewhere and sell it off down the line.
And that's what I would have expected to see, but I'm just curious, I want to make sure, obviously, whatever the soil is there, not only that it's, what was the cause of it, but also, that I assume at this point, therefore, that everything's going to be fine, obviously, the continuing
So
of the
So the
project.
soil that's been tested, that's been found not to be appropriate, will be moved off-site. There's a facility in West Hartford that has been designated to take that. The only thing that's holding us up right now is that Eagle Environmental wanted certain materials from this facility in West Hartford to verify that it is an appropriate place to send the soil to.
Good.
So it'll be trucked up to West Hartford, and it's then gone. We don't deal with it anymore, and the soil that'll be left on-site will then be spread out over the fields and things.
Perfect. And I just have a question on the extra reimbursement. I mean,
Yes.
that's great. My question is, does that affect both schools? I know there was some question, I'd asked it, and someone had a question as to whether it just affected the North End School, the Barnum School, or whether that affects both schools.
Well, as I mentioned, there's two different aspects of it. The first affected both schools. That's the space standard. We were over on square footage at both buildings.
Right.
And the reason at Norton was because there was an addition of two more classrooms that will service some of our neediest students. And the state, if you've been reading some of the laws that were just passed recently by the legislature, they've really been encouraging school districts to keep students in-house as much as possible, to develop programs as much as possible. So when we first started to do planning for the Norton School, we added in 2 additional special ed spaces that put us over on square footage. So we will now get reimbursed on that square footage, which we weren't going to originally. The bigger square footage, and therefore much more money, was up at the North End Barnum School, because that's also housing our entire preschool program. And that, as I said, had 2 pieces to it. One was the space standard, which we will now get reimbursed even though we were over on the square footage. And the other was the additional 15% that you will get for building a preschool facility. And that allows us to gather much more money. I don't want to throw any specifics out at this point because, we haven't gotten anything in writing yet from the Office of State Grants saying here's exactly how this law will impact you. We've looked at our own figures and we're smiling as we do.
That's great. I was just curious because I looked at it, I was a little confused whether it's a straight 15%, that we went from 50% to 65%, but really it sounds like we're 50% for one school and potentially 65% for the other, right?
It'll be
15.
50% reimbursement at Norton School. We were originally scheduled for 50% reimbursement at Barnum School. And remember, that's on those reimbursable costs that are there. Right. You never actually get 50%. We always calculate out that there's going to be maybe a 5% of things that are not. And then there's an additional 15% that we will get for the preschool construction.
So it's not a straight 65% reimbursement.
I'm not certain.
Okay, right.
I don't know that that's been specifically clarified yet.
But it's more than it was.
It's much more than it was.
And then my last question, is there still time to sign the beam?
Yeah, actually.
You gotta swing over after this meeting and go sign the beam.
You might have to climb up the top.
The beam was sitting out there in a pile of mud and water when I was there today.
Have to clean it off, yeah.
It's off the ground, so it wasn't in the mud, but yeah, it's going to be done on Thursday morning, so if you wanted to try to get over there tomorrow. I was going to try to do it, but it was pouring rain. They actually handed me a black marker to sign my name on it, but I couldn't even get over to where it was today because there was so much water on the site.
I want to get over there to put sign my John Hancock and put Norton class of 1968 on it. Mr. Walsh.
Thank you. I know we had the similar topsoil issue over at the Bartlam, I believe, and at first they thought it was contaminated, and they did more testing and found out it wasn't as bad, and our Public Works was able to do something with it. But I'm assuming that we checked into that, and it's so bad that $200,000 is a lot of money to get rid of topsoil.
Yes, it is. We've done multiple tests, and we've come back and retested.
But you could have, but you could have used it on that property, right? They said but it's just too much, right, to use. I mean, if it wasn't too much and it was contaminated to that extent, they would have allowed you to still use it?
Well, the way the regulations are set up, we would have never had to test. If we had just, used the topsoil that was on the site, moved it into a pile, and then spread it out on the site.
Okay.
It was when we said we need to move it off-site that all of a sudden these new regulations came to be, and we needed to test and check everything.
Okay, and one other question. As I saw the picture of Colonel Barnum there and standing in front of a Chapman Eagles podium, have we talked about how we are going to preserve the Chapman and Darcy names at that school somehow? Maybe the Darcy preschool or the Chapman gym or something. I think for those people who graduated from those schools, I think those names are important to them, as Norton is important to Mr. Talbot. And I would like to see if there's some way we can try to utilize it, because it's part of the history of this town too, so.
That's sort of beyond the scope of our committee, but it's something I can share with Dr. Solon.
And Mr. Walsh, when we talked about the naming ceremony for the school itself, one of the things that we talked about were those items. I think it's incumbent upon the council to take that up, and I'm hoping that we'll do that between now and next September before the opening, so, but I couldn't agree with you more. Anyone else?
I still would like the old Chapman Chipmunks to be somehow represented in that, so.
That'll strike fear in the heart of any sports team. The Chipmunks are coming after you.
Unfortunately, I think the Chipmunks were gathered by the Eagles, so that's.
I was once principal of a school that the Crickets were the mascot, and that was a tough one.
Exactly. There was silence. And, Mr. Kimball.
Just a quick note, just a reminder for the council, the notwithstanding language on the space waiver and the early childhood extra 15% bump were our items 1 and 2 of our adopted legislative recommendations from October. So we are very pleased to see that they got in. As Mr. Gussenberg said, we're still trying to confirm the machinations of exactly how much potential it could mean in addition, but it's very, very good news and very welcome. I know from Mr. Jascott's calculations of future bonding, definitely going to help us a lot. So we'll have more to come once we get a little more certainty around that.
Anyone else for Mr. Gussenberg? Seeing none, no questions, but a couple comments. And obviously, looking at me, I'm the last person you'd think of as a mountain climber, but I can proudly say that I've been to the top, to the summit of Mount Norton, and I have pictures from the summit to prove it. But I also wanted to say that O&G is doing a magnificent job in partnering with the current Norton School students on a variety of things, keeping them apprised of literally what is going on outside their windows on a daily basis. So public kudos to O&G for the outstanding work they're doing with our students.
They've also gone out of their way to communicate with people who live in that area, as any issues or questions have come up. I think O&G is doing a fantastic job. 2 big projects that they're running at one time. They've coordinated all of the bidding and everything else, and kept everything right on schedule. I have been extremely impressed. I sit in on their bi-weekly building meetings, and they're right on top of everything right now. So I would definitely give them an A+ for anyone that asked.
And As always, thank you to you and the committee. Please pass along our gratitude, and good to have you back after a month off with a substitute report.
Yeah,
So,
I moved my son from California to Massachusetts, and he's now settled. and
literally across country.
Literally cross-country. I don't want to tell you how many boxes I packed up and moved, but it was an interesting few weeks.
Well, as much as I don't look like a mountain climber, you don't look like you should be a mover either, so.
Thank you.
But the things we do for our children.
It's there.
Thank you, Mr. Gustenberg, much appreciated as always. Moving on to new business, item 8A is the appropriation of an additional $80,000 for Lakeview Avenue culvert improvements, and I have to go to page 2, authorizing the issue of $80,000 in bonds and notes to finance that appropriation. Mr. Jenks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Be it resolved that the town council approves resolution number 061025-2, resolution appropriating $80,000 for Lakeview Avenue culvert improvements and authorizing the issue of $80,000 in bonds and notes to finance the appropriation. Whereas the town approved the resolution entitled Resolution Appropriating $50,000 for improvements to the Lakeview Avenue culvert and authorizing the issue of $50,000 in bonds and notes to finance the appropriation as part of the fiscal year 2023-2024 capital expenditure budget for improvements to the Lakeview Avenue culvert, quote, in quotes, the project. Whereas the town approved the resolution entitled Resolution Appropriating $340,000 for improvements to the Lakeview Avenue culvert and authorizing the issue of $340,000 in bonds and notes to finance the appropriation as part of the fiscal year 2024-25 capital expenditure budget for the project. Whereas after opening bids for the project, it has been determined that an additional $80,000 is needed to complete the project, resulting in an aggregate $470,000 total cost for the project. Therefore, be it resolved, I'm scrolling down, that the town of Cheshire appropriate $80,000 for the costs related to improvements to the culvert located on Lakeview Avenue. The appropriation may be spent for design, construction, equipment, and materials, demolition and removal, engineering, consultant legal fees, related improvements, repairs or renovations, net interest on borrowings and other financing costs, and other expenses related to the project. The town council shall determine the scope and particulars of the project and may reduce or modify the project scope, and the entire appropriation may be expended on the project as so reduced or modified. B, that the town issue its bonds or notes in an amount not to exceed $80,000 to finance the appropriation for the project. The bonds or notes shall be issued pursuant to Section 7-369 of the General Statutes of Connecticut, revision of 1958, as amended, and any other enabling acts. The amount of bonds or notes authorized to be issued shall be reduced by the amount of grants received by the town for the project and not separately appropriated to pay additional project costs. The bonds or notes shall be general obligations of the town secured by the irrevocable pledge of the full faith and credit of the town. C, that the town issue and renew the temporary notes from time to time in anticipation of the receipt of the proceeds from the sale of the bonds or notes for the project or the receipt of the grants for the project. The amount of the notes outstanding at any time shall not exceed $80,000. The notes shall be issued pursuant to Section 7-378 of the General Statutes of Connecticut, revision of 1958 as amended. The notes shall be general obligations of the town secured by the irrevocable pledge of the full faith and credit of the town. The town shall comply with the provisions of Section 7-378A of the General Statutes if the notes do not mature within the time permitted by said Section 7-378. D, the town manager and the treasurer of the town shall sign the bonds or notes by their manual or facsimile signatures. The law firm Pullman & Comley LLC is designated as bond counsel to approve the legality of the bonds or notes. The town manager and the treasurer are authorized to determine the amount, dates, interest rates, maturities, redemption provisions, form, and other details of the bonds or notes, to designate one or more bank or trust companies to be certifying bank, registrar, transfer agent, paying agent for the bonds or notes, to provide for the keeping of the record of the bonds or notes, to designate a municipal advisor to the town in connection with the sale of the bonds or notes, to sell the bonds or notes at public or private sale, to deliver the bonds or notes, and to perform all other acts which are necessary to appropriate to issue the bonds or notes. E, that the town hereby declares its official intent under federal income tax regulation section 1 .150-2. That project cost shall be paid from temporary advances of available funds, and the town reasonably expects to reimburse any such advances from the proceeds of the borrowings in an aggregate principal amount not in excess of the amount of borrowing authorized above for the project. The town manager and the treasurer are authorized to amend such declaration of official intent as they deem necessary or advisable, and to bind the town pursuant to such representations and covenants as they deem necessary or advisable, in order to maintain the continued exemption from federal income taxation of interest in the bonds or notes authorized by this resolution, if issued on a tax-exempt basis, including covenants to pay rebates of investment earnings to the United States in future years. F, that the town manager and the treasurer are authorized to make representations and enter into written agreements for the benefit of holders in the bonds or notes to provide secondary market disclosure information, which agreements may include such terms as they deem advisable or appropriate in order to comply with applicable laws or rules pertaining to the sale or purchase of such bonds or notes. G, that the town manager, the treasurer, the town council, the building committee, or committees as established from time to time by the town council for the project, and other proper officers of the town are authorized to take all other action which is necessary or desirable to complete the project, to apply for and accept grants for the project, and to issue bonds or notes to finance the aforesaid appropriation. That is it.
And I will second that as long as Merrick doesn't speak too long.
Can you repeat that, please?
I'm going to go back to B.
Mr. Jenks, thank you very much for that lengthy resolution. Mr. Walsh, thank you for the second. Assuming, Mr. Komet, that you didn't write that, we will allow you to start the discussion.
I'll be quick. The project in itself is basically culvert improvements to the culvert on Lakeview Avenue for safety concerns. Originally, our design consultants had given us a cost estimate of $313,000 for doing a project. I felt that was too low, so I bumped it up by 10%, and that's how we got to the $340 originally. We did have 5 bids that came in after the bid process. The low bid was, I believe, $339,000, is right below the $340. Unfortunately, they were disqualified because they left off one of the major components of the project, which was the railing system for safety. So the second low bid was at $399,000. So with that, doing the math, I added in a little bit of 5% to cover inflation, tariffs, contingency, and, other incidentals. So that's why we're asking for an additional $80,000 to make it all work.
Thank you. Questions? Seeing one?
Yeah, no, I laughed because I was thinking, are we borrowing $80 million with that resolution? I think we borrowed millions for a much less smaller resolution. I think so. With this, we think that this is going to cover everything.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. And then how long do you think this is going to take to?
The project itself, it should take probably less than 2 months.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anything else? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, motion passes unanimously.
Thank you,
Mr.
everyone.
Jing-
Have a great night.
Have
a great
Thank you,
night.
Mr. Komet. Mr. Jenks, hopefully you've had an opportunity to catch your breath, because item B is back to you for an authorization to apply for the Department of Children and Families Youth Services Bureau fiscal year 2026 grant program and acceptance and appropriation of $19,433 from funding received in fiscal year 2025.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So be it resolved that the Town Council approves Resolution Number 061025-3. Be it resolved, the Town Council authorizes application for the Department of Children and Families Youth Service Bureau fiscal year 2026 grant program. And be it further resolved, the Town Council accepts and appropriates $19,433 in funding received from the Department of Children and Families Youth Service Bureau fiscal year 2025 grant program.
Thank you, Mr. Jenks. Do we have a second? Thank you, Ms. Allard. Discussion, Mr. Kimball, are you going to?
Happy to answer any questions. I know the agenda submission form gives a summary. This is a grant that we receive annually through the Human Services Department. And again, it supports positive youth development, counseling, prevention programs offered to the youth and families of Cheshire.
Questions regarding the grant? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, motion passes unanimously. Item C is the acceptance and appropriation of $210,000 donation from Elam Park Baptist Home, Inc. $75,000 is revenue to the town's general fund, $135,000 to the police department gift account pursuant to the adopted fiscal year 2025-2026 operating budget. Mr. Jenks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Be it resolved, the town council approves resolution number 061025-4. Be resolved, the town council accepts a $210,000 donation from the Elam Park Baptist Home to the Cheshire Police Department and appropriates said donation to the following as presented and attached: $135,000 to the police department gift account, $75,000 to the town's general fund as revenue in support of the police department budget.
Thank you, Mr. Jenks. Thank you, Mr. Veliber. Chief Dreif, welcome. And you have been the fortunate recipient of this for several years. So if you would tell us what your plans are for this time.
Sure. So it's very similar to years past. We've kind of got into what I think is a pretty good routine with things that we can not stress the town's regular budget with. You know, particularly this year, I know it was a tough budget year, but you know, things that we feel that we have to do on a regular basis. The first one being our mobile computers and modems for the cruisers. So you may remember this will be year 3 of an effort to turn over all the laptop computers in the cars. This year, our network administrator asked if there would be enough money to also replace the modems, upgrade them to 5G. As you can imagine, the amount of data that's going in and out of the cruiser these days, you know, with the addition of the LPRs and the body cameras and the cruiser cameras, it just continues to go up. So he felt that upgrading the modems would be appropriate. That accounts for $40,000. Every year we set aside some money to enhance and cover off the costs of the changeover to new cruisers and equipment, particularly lights and things like that. Again, if we didn't ask for it here, or if we didn't use Elam Park money for it, we would just be asking for more in our capital budget for cruisers. Taser cartridges, taser cartridges and batteries. Again, just another thing that we have to do training on every year. The training cartridges are not cheap, and we try to get every officer to fire at least 2 training cartridges during the course of their annual use of force training. Traffic safety supplies, again, kind of speaks for itself. Those things get banged up, in particular the signs that you see in the crosswalks that are kind of in the middle of the road at the trail crossings. Some people inadvertently hit them. I'm convinced that some people take it as some sort of sporting activity to run them over. Either way, we replace them with nice new ones periodically. Training and accreditation, again, we're well into the accreditation process now, but we've always prided ourselves on doing more than just our 60 hours of recertification training that the state mandates every 3 years. So again, the good folks at Elam Park have, with this money, we're able to do that. You know, think anything above and beyond just your basic recertification training. Our community programs are all basically run off Elam Park money. RAD, the Citizens Academy, our Police Explorers, DUI education that we do. Everybody's seen the drunk carts and stuff and the goggles at the Fall Festival that we use. And again, our little tchotchkes that we give out at our table at the Fall Festival all comes from here. And last but not least, uniforms and personal equipment. There's always something new that the officers are looking to you know, to try that we like to keep them up. One of the things we bought last year was it's called an IFAC, which is an individual first aid kit that fits right on their new outer vest carriers that we also bought with the Elam Park money the year before. It has a tourniquet and you know, some hemostatic gauze and things like that in it. So they always have that on them if they're out at a scene. But one of the primary reasons that they ask for that is because God forbid that one of them ever gets hurt they're actually have the stuff on them. They don't have to go back to the cruiser and look through the first aid kit. So that's kind of a summary. I would just point out that one of the things, I'm sure Sean and Jack are tired of me saying it, when we're at the Elam Park presentation to get the money, one of the things that I tell the residents, and there's always, 30 or 40 of them there, is that every time they see a Cheshire police officer or a Cheshire police vehicle responding to their facility on anything, there's something on that officer or in that cruiser that was bought with the money that they donate to us. So, it's a great thing that they do, and we are forever in their debt for doing it. So.
Thank you, Chief. Well said. Are council members able to volunteer for the taser discharge, or?
There are, you'll
Any
notice that I don't carry one because the training would dictate that you get tased before you carry the taser, and it doesn't mean that much to me to carry one. So.
Go ahead, Mr. Walsh.
Yeah, first of all, kudos to your police officers for taking part in the torch run last week. They've raised a lot of money for Special Olympics for many years. And
hottest day of the year.
Yeah, it seems like that every
By
year.
far.
Yeah, but I appreciate the money they raise. They do a lot of good work in this community, and please make sure
We've
they
been
know
in the
we
top
appreciate it.
10 statewide for several years in
Yeah,
a row
that's
now,
great.
so.
That's great. Just a quick question. I know by the end of the year, we're going to be at full police officers, I believe, right? Maybe? But like, I know you have to get equipment and everything else. Is that part of the regular budget, or do you have to, if you get to that point where, would you go, and I know you have some of this money going to the uniforms and equipment. Is that where some of this money would go to as well?
The original outlay for equipment for new officers is always built into the regular budget.
Okay, so you have it built in already?
Yeah. What we use this for mostly is like bike uniforms, motorcycles, the extras that we've always funded those extras through the Elam Park money, so we try to fund the expenses associated, the ongoing expenses associated with it through the Elam Park money also.
All right, thanks.
Mr. Velliver.
Thank you. I would just, express, these are great things, and we're glad that, that the police department is able to get these through Elam Park. And I just wanted to thank Elam Park, because I know, of course, they're watching, right? Of course, they're watching this. But I just wanted to say, this is a truly a wonderful thing that the Elam Park does on an annual basis. And they're truly a great community neighbor and a great member of our community. So I'm happy to support this motion. And thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Ms. Allard.
I just wanted to say, my daughter is part of the Police Explorers program, and she is really enjoying it. So I'm very grateful for this program, for allowing that to be a possibility for her. And additionally, the money to go towards training and accreditation, I feel, is imperative. So I'm just really grateful that you're going to be allocating it for that, and I'm happy to support this.
Yeah, we always have. That's,
Seeing no other questions, I will call for a vote. All those in favor, motion passes unanimously. Thanks, Chief, appreciate it. And then item D is a very similar item with a different chief, acceptance and appropriation of a $210,000 donation from Elam Park Baptist Home, Inc. $75,000 is revenue to the town's general fund, $135,000 to the fire department gift account pursuant to the adopted fiscal year 2025-2026 operating budget. Mr. Jinks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Be resolved that the Town Council approves resolution number 061025-5. Be resolved the Town Council accepts a $210,000 donation from Elam Park Baptist Home, Inc. to the Cheshire Fire Department and appropriates said donation to the following as presented and attached: $135,000 to the fire department gift account, $75,000 to the town's general fund as revenue in support of the fire department budget.
Thank you, Mr. Jinks. Thank you, Mr. Walsh. Chief Kasner, welcome, and thank you for being here tonight. Always great to see both of you in the same room and not trading barbs for a change. So.
Not enough people here.
It's still early, right?
It's true. I'll go briefly, like Neil did by category. Obviously, there's the one-time $75,000 gift that Sean took out, so we can put that on the record. The equipment line. Equipment includes a vehicle, because there's a sport utility vehicle we've had in the CNR that's been bumped for the last couple of years, so we need to replace one of the SUVs. The attached, I think you have the memo, so everything that we're spending it on is here, but I'll just go through quick. Contractual services is $7,000. Personnel, that's $11,000. That's T-shirts, sweatshirts, uniform parts, all of that. Training expenses is directly related to training because we're continuously overrunning the operating budget training account. We spend a lot of money on our people training them. Automotive equipment and supplies, that's helps with repairs. You'll see in budget time, we're over our equipment maintenance line significantly. And that's what's gonna happen with aged equipment. That's just we have to keep it on the road. So when you have to wait 4 years to get a fire engine, these are the things that are gonna happen to us. Property maintenance and improvements. We've done a lot of the property maintenance, painting, ceiling tiles, done a lot of that stuff at fire headquarters. That makes a difference and keeps the place looking fresh. We're probably gonna do some flooring replacement, which involves abatement of asbestos next year or this coming year. And that's basically the categories. I can go through and answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions for Chief Kasner?
So that means I did a better job than Drive presenting them.
I spoke too soon. Sorry. Sorry, Chief. Ms. Allard.
Thank you for that information, Chief. I just have a question about, I know that you mentioned there was some difficulty finding volunteer firefighters, and there's been a marketing promotion through
Rebel.
the videos, yes.
Rebel, yeah.
I'm curious, how is that going?
Not as much as we expected, quite
Okay.
frankly. We did get some people from out of town. We got a lot of calls because it didn't say in the video that they were volunteers, so we got a lot of people that wanted to come to work but get a paycheck. So once we said you have to do this voluntary, they weren't so interested anymore.
Thank you.
But thank you for asking.
Anyone else? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Moves us on to item E, the approval of 2025 Neighborhood Assistance Act program submissions. Ms. Eller.
Mr. Chairman, I need to recuse myself from this vote, please.
Thank you, Mr. Wolf.
Be it resolved that the Town Council approves Resolution Number 061025-6. Be it resolved that the Town Council approves the following submissions to the State of Connecticut 2025 Neighborhood Assistance Act program as presented at a public hearing on June 10th, 2025. Community Health Center Association of Connecticut, Inc., Workforce Training Enhancement, Ball and Socket Arts, Inc., Roofing Costs on Building 1, and the Hometown Foundation, Inc., Police K-9 Program.
Thank you, Ms. Allard. Thank you, Mr. Jinks. Mr. Kimball, I know this is an annual grant that is provided. Anything further beyond the resolution?
No, just as said during the hearing earlier, again, the town's role is primarily just administrative, to forward these on as approved, to participate in the state's tax credit program that enables these organizations to take advantage of that funding.
Belliver?
Just a question. I assume that this vote is a simple majority and does not need a two-thirds vote, correct?
No, it's a 5.
That's what I thought.
Yep,
I just
a simple
wanted-
5 will
just
do
wanted
it.
Just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
Yep. I probably should have asked this of Chief Drife, but I noticed that the, get back here, that the Neighborhood Assistance, the Hometown Foundation is doing the, for their K-9 program. Is there any discussion that you're aware of a potential K-9 officer for our town?
Not that I'm aware of. I could certainly invite the chief back up to answer that if there's anything more recent. But no, not that I'm aware of.
Yeah. So a question for down the road, but certainly not pressing by any means. So seeing no other questions, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, motion passes unanimously of those voting. Which brings us to item F, annual authorization to enter into agreement with the State of Connecticut Department of Emergency Services and Public Protection, Division of Emergency Management and Homeland Security. Mr. Wolf.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Be it resolved that the Town Council approves Resolution Number 061025-7. Be it resolved that the Town of Cheshire may enter into with and deliver to the State of Connecticut Department of Emergency Services and Public Protection, Division of Emergency Management and Homeland Security, any and all documents which it deems to be necessary or appropriate, and be it further resolved that Sean M. Kimball, as Town Manager of the Town of Cheshire, is authorized and directed to execute and deliver any and all documents on behalf of the Town Council, and to do and perform all acts and things which he deems to be necessary or appropriate to carry out the terms of such documents, including, but not limited to, executing and delivering all agreements and documents completed by such documents.
Thank you, Mr. Wolf. Thank you, Mr. Walsh, for a second. And Mr. Kimball, I know this is another annual that we do.
It is, although our Emergency Management Director, Chief Kasner, left the room.
They
Just
both
pointing that out.
snuck out a little too early, yeah. Exactly.
But yes, this is a annual approval resolution that we need that makes us eligible for certain grants that and other funding sources that he is able to access throughout the year and supports our budget specifically, and namely the budget for the emergency management services. That is, again, I said, Chief Kasner is also our emergency management director for the town.
Questions? Seeing none, you did a great job, Mr. Kimball. Thank you. I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, motion passes unanimously. Of those present, put it that way this time. Item G is the reappointment of Stephanie Thoreau as the Town of Cheshire's representative to the Greater Waterbury Transit District Board. Mr. Wolf.
Be it resolved that the Town Council approves Resolution Number 061025-8. Be it resolved that the Town Council hereby appoints Senior Services Coordinator Stephanie Thoreau as the Town of Cheshire's representative to the Greater Waterbury Transit District Board for the term present to June 30th, 2027.
Thank you, Mr. Wolf. Thank you, Mr. Walsh, for the second. This is strictly a reappointment of Ms. Thoreau to the Greater Waterbury Transit District Board, which she has served on admirably for the past term. This will continue her on that board. Questions from council members? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, motion passes unanimously of those present. Item H is the acceptance and appropriation of $20,415.62 from the National Opioid Settlements Distributor Year 5 payment allocation to be used for opioid remediation. Mr. Jinks.
Be it resolved, the Town Council approves Resolution Number 061025-9. Be it resolved, the Town Council hereby accepts and appropriates $20,415.62 from the National Opioid Settlement to the Human Services Special Revenue Account for the continuation of the opioid remediation plan as approved by the Town Council.
Thank you, Mr. Jinks. Do we have a second? All over the place. I saw Mr. Veliber's hand first. Thank you, Mr. Veliber. Mr. Jinks, for discussion, or this is a quarterly that goes into Michelle Picarillo's Human Services Fund, and again, it's used for a variety of purpose, but under the catch-all of opioid remediation. And this is part of a national legal settlement with the prescription drug representatives. Any questions from council members? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, motion passes unanimously by those present. Item I, we are going to discuss in executive session, and we will come out and have only a vote following our executive session tonight, which brings us to item 9, the town manager's report. Mr. Kimball.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will actually start with a response from Chief Drife that there is not currently a plan, as I said, to participate in the K-9 program. At this time, he's looking to make sure the staffing is stabilized before he can pull someone from patrol to be the K-9 officer. Also, I would just point out, as I sometimes neglect to do it, the additional reports. There are some great photos of a site visit from the Economic Development Commission to the Stonebridge Common Development that you see in the Economic Development report. So please be sure to take a look at that. Again, the rest, and my report also is uploaded if you want to follow along in your digital packet there. Up front, it's dog license season here in June. Residents must license their dogs 6 months and older through the town clerk's office per state of Connecticut regulations. Licenses must be renewed annually. In June, dog licenses can be obtained in person at the town clerk's office, by mail, or online. You'll need to show a certificate or bill from the veterinarian showing current rabies vaccinations and expiration date. Veterinarian certificate or bill showing the dog has been neutered or spayed. Otherwise, the non-altered fee would be charged, and the fee is $8 for a spayed or neutered dog and $19 for unaltered. If applying for a dog license by mail, please send the application form and supporting document and fee, along with the self-addressed business size envelope stamped with 2 postage stamps to the town clerk's office, 84 South Main Street, Cheshire, Connecticut. More information, please be sure to visit our website. Senior Center membership renewals. June is also membership renewal month for the Senior Center. It's open to everyone ages 55 and older and is a great way to learn something new and connect with others. Membership renewals are accepted in person, by mail, and in the Senior Center Dropbox. For more information, please contact our Senior Center directly at 203-272-8286. It's also our Cheshire Library's Summer Reading Kickoff. The Kickoff Summer Adventure 2025 will be held at the Cheshire Public Library on Friday, June 20th from 5:30 to 8 p.m. Dance to the music of DJ Red Supreme. Check out the CPL Arcade with real arcade games, meet some superheroes, and more. Pizza and snacks will be served. Registration is encouraged. Also, as mentioned earlier by Tim Slocum during his report, just a reminder, Cheshire residents are able to dispose of their household hazardous waste items at no charge to the RWA located at 90 Sergeant Drive from now through October 25th. Saturdays only, 9 a.m. to noon. Proof of residence and online pre-registration is required, and the following links at rwater.com will take you there. Up next, we want to hear from you on the town's plan of conservation and development. New survey questions have just been posted, I think as of today or yesterday, on the POCD's website, the Planning and Zoning Commission, seeking input on housing. The link to the surveys can be found on the town's website or by going to the following link, which is again on our website, Taichi at mysocialpinpoint.com. Also, the town council's supported multimodal transportation plan in collaboration with local transportation planning firm FHI Studio, now IMEG, began work on the multimodal transportation plan this past spring. The goal of the plan is to target roadway safety, operational transit, pedestrian, bicycling, and wayfinding improvements to increase safe and convenient opportunities for multimodal transportation, decrease roadway congestion, enhance livability, support businesses and economic prosperity, improve air quality, and provide physical and mental health benefits. At this stage, we're seeking feedback from residents, workers, business owners, and visitors. There will be a Cheshire Multimodal Transportation Plan booth at the Strawberry Festival at the First Congregational Church Green this coming Saturday, June 14th, so please feel free to stop by, give us your input. If you're not able to attend, there's also an online survey that will be going live right after that event next week. Projects around town, a lot of things still happening, and we were pleased to report to the council that the town of Cheshire was successful in receiving a $1 million 2025 STEEP grant for the Mixville Park Phase 2 recreation improvements. The project will include the installation of the boardwalk, construction of the bridge between the upper and lower pond, fishing dock on the upper pond, replacement of the large pavilion, and other miscellaneous improvements that will greatly enhance Mixhill Park. Additionally, the Town Hall roof replacement project is substantially complete. Final review and punch list will be generated by the consultant for the contractor. The Emergency Operations Center is ongoing. The first coats of paint are complete. The ceiling grid and now glass partitions were installed earlier today. Progress meeting is scheduled for tomorrow. Town Hall generator project is ongoing. The actual generator is received by the contractor at their shop and will be scheduled for installation after they complete the off-site preparations. Brickwork will begin this week on the face of the wall, installed as a buffer around the new generator on the north side of this building. The pool boiler PVC project work is well underway. Much of the new pipe work is complete, ahead of scheduled delivery for the new boilers, which is expected later this week. Animal control facility renovations and upgrades work began earlier today with the demolition of the interior fence partitions. This work will be succeeded by concrete work and the application of epoxy coating for the concrete surfaces, installation of the new fence, HVAC systems, upgrades, along with other improvements to the facility. And finally, the Bartlam Park parking lots and access drives are scheduled to be replaced for the Bartlam and pool parking lots. This work is scheduled to start with milling August 4th, followed by paving August 11th. All of this, of course, is weather dependent. And then our monthly mattress and electronics recycling event held at 1304 Waterway Road, the old transfer station, will be this Saturday, June 14th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Also accepted are grass clippings and leaves. Again, the event is open to Cheshire residents only. Proof of residency is required. And then you'll see some of the parameters there for mattresses, electronics, and grass clippings. And with upcoming town council meetings, we have a sustainability committee meeting scheduled for June 17th. Also, capital budget workshops. Be sure to mark your calendars for June 25th, July 1st, and July 7th. And then our next regular meeting, July 8th. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Kimball. Questions for Mr. Kimball, Mr. Veliver?
Thank you. This is all great things. Things are going. So, two things. One, on the Bartlam Park, what will, so what's going to happen with those lots? I mean, how long will that generally take? And is it going to be? Is the pool going to be down? Is anything like that while they're doing that work?
I don't believe that the pool will be closed. Again, I think they're able to provide access throughout. There may be a few days here or there. I think as we get closer, we'll have a better idea. But at this point, I'm not aware of any pool closures. We are at the end of July planning, if you recall, that appropriation or series of appropriations also included the paving for the new area, the new installation of the skate park area. So that'll actually take place just a little before this schedule, end of July. You will see, I believe it's end of June, the skate park equipment is scheduled to be disassembled and moved off because they have to do it at only certain times when the company's available to do so. So there will be a brief, amount of time there where there will be, before it can be, paved, obviously, and then reinstalled with the new equipment following.
And then, unrelated to that, but and maybe not part of your report, but I did send an email to you, Sean, as well as to you, Mr. Talbot, for the chairman, expressing my concern and whether the town council was going to take any action on House Bill 5002, the comprehensive planning and zoning bill that was passed by the legislature that's waiting, still has not been signed by the governor. And I was hoping to at least see if the town was planning on taking any action as far as there is recommendations by both, I believe, CCM and COST recommending that if towns and other officers want to ask the governor to veto this bill, now is the time for us to do that. And I was curious if this council has any desire to do that on. I think this bill is, as I said, both COST and CCM are recommending a veto. I think this is going to be, despite some accusations or thoughts to the contrary, this may be a well-intentioned bill, but a poorly thought-out bill that's going to have a detrimental impact to Cheshire in the long term and strip away Cheshire's local control, as well as cost the town probably money and make Cheshire a probably even more heavily developed town than it already is. So I would ask if that the town consider submitting a letter to the governor asking for him to veto that. I know I've sent one personally And I would ask everyone, if you're listening, to do that for the benefit of the town. But I would hope that, obviously, it may have more impact if it's coming from the Cheshire Town Council or the town government. So I don't know if there's any intent on the part of the council to do that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to speak on behalf of the council, so I would, certainly from a policy standpoint, if that's a position.
As far as the council goes, we don't have plans to do it. I don't know if our Planning and Zoning Commission is planning on doing it. I would think that that would be, because they are the land use body, it would be certainly more appropriate for them to send something on behalf of P&Z, but I
Sean,
did not have any plans for the council.
Sean, have you spoken to Mike Glidden on this issue?
I have only briefly, where we were following the larger bill. Obviously, some parts were amended and modified, but I don't pretend to be an expert on predicting the exact impact on Cheshire, so I would certainly defer to him on that.
Okay. Well, I mean, obviously, if you could, because obviously, if there's going to be any action taken, I'm sure it'll happen sooner rather than later. And I believe also there's only a certain amount of time, even if the governor doesn't sign it, if he doesn't veto it, it becomes law, whether he takes any action with it anyway. So if you could ask, if through Mike, or, whether the Planning and Zoning Commission intends to take any action on that, that would be great. So I said sooner rather than later, just from a timing perspective, because I think this is something that's definitely going to be detrimental to the town, and it definitely, as I said, it's unfortunate that this is something that our delegation, the legislative delegation, is in favor of. So, thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. Walsh?
I know that we're doing the Bartland Park paving, and last year when we were discussing that, I believe, John, you made some suggestions about concrete or there was something about curbing, yeah.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything. I mean, I defer to whatever staff and Sean has decided that's acceptable in the budget at this point. It was a suggestion.
You made a suggestion, though, because the concrete versus the asphalt curbing was better, or?
Extruded concrete is allowed by the town specifications now, and it does have a little bit more durability, but I mean, I didn't follow up to see what staff or you felt we could afford, Sean, so I don't really know where we stand on that. But I made that suggestion. It was a suggestion.
Yeah, and I just couldn't remember, and I just was wondering where we are with that, or?
Yeah, I think I talked to Dan Bombera about that a couple of weeks ago. I believe the plan is still, at least certainly on the higher access areas and where we've seen the curb get beat up before, I think the plan is still the extruded concrete curbing. I'll follow up. I believe that was the original design plan with a more.
I mean, if it costs a few more dollars, that will last a lot longer, it makes sense to. One other thing, I talked to Tim, asked Tim about the satellite events, and I did look it up. They just had one in Orange on May 3rd. Woodbridge has one on July 19th. Bethany has one on September 13th. This is for the hazardous waste satellite. So they got Orange, Woodbridge, and Bethany. It would be nice if we could have one in Cheshire.
Yep. Yeah, we took, after your similar request a couple of months ago, I did check with Dan. The entire year, as actually Mr. Slocum said, had already been booked out, so we can put a request in for next year. But at the time that they were announcing this year's, they had already planned those based on communities from the year before. There are, again, there's some trade-offs and there's some costs that come with hosting it, as you know, and identifying the right location is important because it obviously does bring a lot of traffic in. And so, we've had some good experience with Quinnipiac Park. That takes some coordinating with different, sports events and other things. So I thought that was one, I don't want to call it a concern, but it was a consideration that I think Dan expressed, that we'd really want to make sure we pick the right spot, because it's a popular program. And when you're hosting the satellite event, it is a great benefit to the community and the residents to not have to go so far. But remember, it's not exclusive for the community. It's for everybody in the whole RWA. Yep.
Any other questions for Mr. Kimball? Seeing none, Mr. Martelli, would you indulge me for 2 minutes with 2 quick questions regarding your report and Stonebridge? I see that 86% is announced and leased. Can you describe what lease out and what LOI mean?
Letter of intent is LOI.
So that's everything but the signed contract.
Correct.
And the lease out means that there's nothing currently, there may be things out there, but there's no letter of intent signed.
Exactly.
Okay. The other question that I get frequently is, when will we see the first location open in Stonebridge? Is there a kind of
So at
just
the-
a brief timetable?
Yeah, so at the site walk, what I can tell you is that Rebecca Wing from Regency stated that the out parcels, one or two of the out parcels will open before the inline tenants will open. So that would be either the Chipotle or the Bird Code Chicken
Yeah.
locations. And then it looks as if the first inline tenant that will open is the Barnes and Noble. Subject to change, and she was very careful, to give setting expectations, because as you know, construction can change always. But it looks as if and that one Barnes and Noble could open in the fall.
Okay.
So.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
But we had the site walk was excellent.
Yeah.
Very well attended by Economic Development Commission. Then a couple members from the Chamber of Commerce also went out. And they had a public art consultant that works with Regency at a lot of their other centers was there to meet with us. And so we walked the site, and so there's going to be a lot of cool local-based theming across the shopping center also. So.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
You got it.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Andrew, before.
Sorry,
No,
Andrew.
and I apologize.
There is
I
no
apologize.
Cracker Barrel.
No, okay. I just thought maybe they'd changed something. Maybe they'd added it. Maybe they put a little sight pad in there in the corner. They could have squeezed the Cracker Barrel in.
At this time, yeah.
So what are the restaurants that are going, are they likely spring of 2026?
They are, I would say, to be safe, I would say spring, if not a little bit sooner, of 2026.
Okay, but yeah, probably not this fall, probably sometime into 2026.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, now you're good.
All right, thanks.
Thank you. Brings us to item 10, reports of committees of the council, starting with chairman's report. To my left, Mr. Wolf. Ms. Allard. And Mr. Jinks. Nothing for miscellaneous. Moving on to number 11, appointments. A is liaison reports, starting to my left for Mr. Wolf. Ms. Allard. Mr. Jinks. Mr. Walsh.
I'll make a report.
All right.
I was unable to attend the Town Beautification Committee last week, but I did see their agenda, which was about plantings over on King Road. They spent a lot of time making sure it's the right level, the right height, the right color, the right everything, and easy to maintain for the person who owns the property. So a lot goes into it, and I really appreciate the time they take to do all of this. They also were going to be deciding on plantings at the senior center. But I would be remiss not to mention the passing of Bill Meyerjack, a long-time civil servant who, from what I understand, was one of the founding members of the Town Beautification Committee, Board of Ed, also a founding member of the Town Chamber of Commerce, and he passed away last week. And, I want to just offer my condolences to his family and say that the town appreciates the service he provided to us. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. I appreciate you doing that. That's absolutely appropriate, and I was remiss in my opening not to do that, so thank you. I appreciate it. Bill was a great guy who did some great work. Mr. Velaber.
No report, but I agree on Bill Meyerjack, and I've known him well for many years, and I was thankfully able to attend the wake, and it was a good turnout, really representative of how much he's really touched the community and various aspects of it, from his community service. I mean, he was chair of the Board of Education for years, did many, many things, and so it's truly amazing when you have somebody who's spent their life really giving back for community service. and that he was one of the people who really did that and really represented what it meant to be a true member of a community. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Veliver. Mr. Mylone?
Just briefly, the building commission met, and Jeff, I don't know if they reached out to you directly, but they had some questions regarding the draft of the ordinance revisions, and they said they were gonna reach out to you directly to ask questions, to understand those, and I don't know if they did. I just
I'm
wanted-
scheduled to go to their meeting on June 20th. Andrew, is that it?
So you're gonna actually attend the meeting?
Yes. Yep.
Thank you. Just wanted to make sure that that was proceeding.
Okay, on to appointments. Mr. Veliver, no, and Mr. Wolf, I believe you have one correction.
Yes, we have one correction for the appointment of Pat Matola to the Performing and Fine Arts Committee. The correction is the term should be her term should be expiring 1/31/28, corrected from 1/31/29. So the correct date is, her term will be expiring 1/31/28. And that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Veliver, and can we get a vote on that? All those in favor? Motion passes unanimously of those present. Thank you, Mr. Wolf, for doing that. I know that our town clerk, Ms. King, will be very happy that we have cleared that up, so thank you all. Town Attorney's Report, Mr. D'Onofrio. 13 is council communications. A, letters to the council, if anybody has any. Seeing none. Miscellaneous, no items, which will move us to executive session. I will entertain a motion to go into executive session regarding pending claim concerning Chesapeake Health District, as well as the approval of, or tax appeal settlement, to include the council members, our town attorney, our town manager, Madam Clerk, Assistant Town Manager Martelli, Mr. Jascott for the tax appeals. So Mr. Jascott will be in for the tax appeal portion. Do I have a second? Mr. Jenks, thank you. All those in favor? Motion passes unanimously of those present. So we are in executive session. We will come back out and do a vote on the tax appeal only. So, Mr. Salamini, you are free to go, my friend. No. No. Yes. Yep. For the state, we'll do that first, and then, no.